Hey guys, it's Alexis, aka The Sloth Reader, and I'm here today to do the wrap-up for my Around the Year and 52 Books challenge. Of course, I participated this. I started about in February or so, mid-February, and I'm pleased to say that at the time of actually recording this video, I only have one book left and I'm midway through it, so I'm definitely on course to complete this challenge. Which is pretty momentous for me because back in like July, I was like 10 books behind schedule because I didn't read at all over the summer. And so it really looked like I was not going to finish it for a while there. So I'm incredibly proud of myself for actually going ahead and finishing it because I busted my butt to read as many books as I could in September, October, and November. So yeah, I'm very excited to say that I definitely finished this challenge. I completed it, I kicked its butt, and overall I read some amazing books because of this challenge. The first thing I'm going to say is that as much fun as I did have doing this challenge this year, I won't be participating in the 2017 Around the Year in 50 Books challenge, mainly for two reasons. The first is that while I really love some of the challenges they chose, I'm really uninterested in participating in some of the others. So I don't really want to force myself to read a bunch of books that I'm not going to be interested in just for the sake of completing the challenge, which also kind of leads me to my second point is that I had fun doing it in 2016, but I really stressed myself out doing it. Reading is supposed to be fun. It is something I do to relax. It's something I do to spend my day having fun, and when I got super behind for a while there in the middle of the year, I was stressed out. I was having unnecessary panic attacks about not finishing this challenge, and I was so worried about making sure every book I read fit some challenge on the list. And while I did definitely read some great books because of it, it just was way more stress than I wanted. I liked that it definitely set a goal for myself, and I liked that, but it was a little too structured for what I think I'm looking for and what I think is going to fit me best, which is why in 2017 I kind of have set my own goals of what I want to accomplish rather than following a list. So as much fun as I did have, it was very stressful for me, and that's just not something I'm really looking to do. So it was a good thing I did in 2016, I'm just not carrying on with it in 2017. So I'm basically going to go through the 52 books I read for the Around the Year 52 Books Challenge. I'll read to you the challenge and the book I read for it, and I will hopefully put a star rating somewhere on here because to try and do it while I'm filming, I'm going to have to go through like 9 different apps on my phone, and that's way too much time, so hopefully I'll try to insert a picture and a rating somewhere on the screen. If I'm not, future Alexis, who's editing this video, really dropped the ball, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys what I read for my Around the Year in 52 Books challenges. The first challenge was a book that you meant to read in 2015 but didn't, and for that I read A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and I gave this a 5 stars. Number 2 is a book set on a different continent, and this is the only book that I have yet to complete for this challenge. I'm halfway through it. But for that, I'm reading The Blazing Star by Imani Josie. The next is a book from the Goodreads 2015 awards, and you can either do a winner or a nominee, and for that I read Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas, and I gave this a 4 stars. Number 4 is a book by an author you discovered in 2015, and for this I did Winter by Marissa Meyer. I don't remember how many stars I gave it, so I'll put it on the screen. Number 5 was a book that begins with the first letter of your first name, and for this I did The Ask and the Answer by Patrick Ness, which I gave 5 stars. Number 6 is the highest rated book on your TBR, and I did The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and I also gave this 5 stars. Number 7 is to read a book about books, and I read Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, which I gave 5 stars. Number 8 is to read a classic book under 200 pages, and I read Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote, and I gave this 3 stars. Number 9 is to read a book that is mentioned in another book, and for this I chose one of the Harry Potter books, and I read Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and I gave it 4 stars. Number 10 is a book by an author you feel you should have read by now, and I did The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, and I gave it 5 stars. 11 is to read a book from the Rory Gilmore Challenge, and for this I did The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, and I gave it 3 stars. Number 12 is to read a childhood classic, and I read one of my all-time favorite picture books, and that is Jumanji by Chris Van Allsburg, and I obviously gave it 5 stellar stars. Number 13 is Reader's Choice, and for this I read Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon, and I gave it 5 stars. Next is number 14, and that is to read a book with one of the 5 W's in the title, so who, what, where, when, why, and I read What Belongs to You, and I gave it 2 stars. Number 15 is to read a book set more than 100 years in the past, and for this I read The Daemoniac by Kat Ross, and I gave it 4 stars. Number 16 is a book from the top 100 mystery novels, and for this I read And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and I gave it 5 stars. Number 17 is to read a book with a beautiful cover, and for this I read Vengeance Road by Erin Bowman, and I gave it 4.5 stars. Number 18 is to read a book on a summer or beach reading list, and for this I read Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson, and I gave it 4 stars. Number 19 is to read a nonfiction book, and for that I read Hamilton, A Revolution by Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jeremy McCarthy, and I give this 5 stellar stars because it was great and I'm Hamilton trash. Number 20 was to read a book with the first name in the title, and for this I read Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendar Blake, and I gave it 4.5 stars. Number 21 was to read a book from the Goodreads recommendations page, and I read Legend by Marie Lu and gave it 4 stars. Number 22 was to read a book in a new 2 series, and I read The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson and gave it 4 stars. Number 23 is to read the next book in a series you are currently reading, and I read Monsters of Men by Patrick Ness and gave it 5 stars. Number 24 is to read a Between the Numbers book, and for this I read The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas, and I gave it a 4.5 stars. Number 25 is to read a book where the main character is in a profession that interests you, and I read The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman, and I gave this 3.5 stars. For number 26, it's to read a book everyone is talking about, and for this I did Three Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake, and I gave it 5 stars. Number 27 is to read a book with a beautiful title, and for this I read The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, and I also gave it 5 stars. Number 28 is a biography, autobiography, or memoir, and for this I read Lucky by Alice Sebold, and I gave it 5 stars. Number 29 is to read a book by an author who writes under more than one name, and for this I read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling, who also writes under the name of Robert Galbraith, and I gave it 5 stars. Number 30 is to read a fairy tale from a culture other than your own, and for this I read The Arabian Nights, of course by a collection of people and anonymously, and I gave this 3 stars. Number 31 is to read a book of young adult fiction, and for this I read More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera, and I gave it 4 stars. Number 32 is to read a historical fiction book, and I read Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi, and I gave it 4. Number 33 is to read the 16th book on your TBR, and for that I read We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and I gave this 4 stars. Number 34 is to read a book about mental illness, and I read Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone, and I gave this 5 stars. Number 35 is to read an award-winning book, and for this I read A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and I gave it 5 stars. Number 36 is to read an identity book, so a book about a different culture or sexual orientation or religion, and for this I read If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Rousseau, and I gave it 4 stars. Number 37 is to read a book that you have seen the movie of but not read the book, and for this I read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling, and I gave it 5 stars. Number 38 is to read a book about an anti-hero, and I read Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and I gave it 5 stars. Number 39 is to read a previous suggestion that did not make the list, and so the suggestion that I chose was a book where the characters have superpowers, and for this I read Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard and gave it 4.5 stars. Number 40 is to read a novella from your favorite genre, and for that I read Six Gun Snow White by Catherine M. Valente, and I gave it 4 stars. I don't know, I'll leave it somewhere on here. Number 41 is to read a book about a major world event, and for this I read Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys, and I gave it 5 stars. Number 42 is to read a top 100 fantasy novel, and for this I read Mistborn: The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, and I gave it 4 stars. Number 43 is to read a book about something that goes bump in the night, and for this I read This Is Not a Test by Courtney Summers, and I gave it 4 stars. Number 44 is to read a book you're embarrassed to read in public, and for this I did The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torr, and I gave it 3 stars. Number 45 is a book related to a passion you have, and for this I read The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis, and I gave it 4.5 stars. Number 46 was to read a crime story, and for this I read The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, and I gave it 4.5 stars. Number 47 was to read a book with the food or drink in the title, and for this I read The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros, and I gave this a 3.5 stars. Number 48 is to read a dystopian, and for this I read Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, and I gave this a 2.5 stars. Number 49 is to read a book with a great opening line, and for this I read Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling, and I gave it 5 stars. Number 50 is to read a book originally not published in English, and for this I read Night by Ellie Weisel, and I gave it 4 stars. Number 51 is to read a short story by a well-known author, and for this I just read the Slasher Girl and Monster Boys anthology, and I gave it a 4 out of 4.5 stars collectively. I'll leave it somewhere over here. And finally, number 52 is to read a book that was published in the year 2016, and for this I read A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab, and I gave it 5 stars. Hands down, it was great. So, sorry that was just me, like, talking into a camera for however many minutes long this is, but I will try to definitely include star ratings and pictures of the books. It would just take way too much time for me to pull all of these off my shelf, and a lot of them I don't actually even have, like, a physical copy of because I read it on my Kindle, or I listened to it, like, on an audiobook. But yeah, so those were all of the books I read for my Around the Year in 52 Books challenge. As you can tell, I gave a lot of them a 4 or a 5-star rating because I really did enjoy most of the ones I read. There were a few duds here and there, but overall, I had a great time reading them. I had a good time participating in this challenge for as stressful as it was, but you guys should let me know down below if you participated, how'd you do, what was your favorite book you read, what was your favorite challenge you thought of, and I'll see you guys soon with another video.